Greetings for the day. I am Dr. Nidhi Rajgupta from Department of Professional Accounting and Finance. Today I am going to talk about law. When I say law, what comes in your mind first? A courtroom, a lawyer or advocate or a judge with hammer, and lot of discussion. Some murder case, some property related case, where is a plaintiff, where there is a defendant. This is what we have seen in most of the movies, right? But law is beyond that. So if I ask you, what are the law which we see in our day-to-day life? Okay, make it a little bit easier for you. What kind of rules we face in our day-to-day life? Like when you come to college, I-card is mandatory. We have to come with ID card. Okay, leave college when we talk about our day-to-day life, without license, you cannot ride your bike or car, correct? Or below 18, you cannot ride any vehicle. These are certain law which is passed by our country. So who makes these law? Of course, government makes these law. So there is a difference between law, act and sections. Are you aware of all these? I am pretty sure not. So what is act and what is law and what are the rules? Rules are in very general form which we form in day-to-day our life, make easier. Kind of like not talking loud in public places, not smoking at public places, kind of small rules. When we talk about law, the related to age, child labor, these are law. And some acts are something which is passed in the parliament in the first house and the second house, which called as Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha. There generally bills are passed and finally based on the voting, the act is passed. Okay, let me ask you one more question. Do you know how old this law is? So let me take you to the today's journey, the history of law. Can you guess like how old it would be? Let's start. So it started somewhere in Babylon. Have you heard of this place, Babylon? Okay, let me give you a small hint. Have you read this before? An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Yes, I'm talking about Hammurabi, Code of Hammurabi. There was a king who had a very long code of conduct, and it was in the era of 1792 BC to 1758. And all over the town, it was written and carved on the huge stone all around the town, so that people can read and follow the rules. When we move little bit ahead, it comes to Rome. So our even Indian constitution is also inspired by a Roman code of conduct. So they had 12 tables. When we say 12 tables, they had certain different categories in each of the table, and there was certain law norms was given under each table. And there were 32 men called as a bench, you can say, who were the juries of the cases, and the different cases were presented in front of them, and they were giving the final verdict, and it was in 450 BC. Now, if you see the history, it is the most detailed legal code of conduct. Then it comes to medieval England. When you talk about medieval England, it's called as feudal system. When we say feudal system, most of the law was influenced by the religion, because people were thinking that God is a supreme and he is having all the evidence, he is having all the power to give punishment. So the God is given chance to few people who were the God's closest people, who were getting the signs from the God, and based on those signs they were giving some punishment. So what were those punishments? So kind of immersion in the hot water, cold water, with the iron rod, and a trial by a battle. You might have seen few movies like Gladiator, Slave, where the typical war scene has been shown on the battleground, where a person is fighting with a dangerous animal or the 3 or 4 fold of his own size. So these were real incidents which actually happened on that time. So this is the history only what we are seeing in the movies. Now coming to India. So when we talk about India, to start with the oldest civilization, which called as Indus Valley civilization, and it was combined with Bronze Valley civilization, and both of these civilization come up with the civic law. Civic law is the normal law which we follow in our day-to-day life. Now going more beyond that, your Indus Valley and Bronze Valley, now comes to the Vedic era. So Vedic era was also engraved with the many law and rules regulations. Now come to the major prominent called as Maurya and Kautilya dynasty, and there we had a prominent Shastra called Dharma Shastra and Artha Shastra. And Artha Shastra is something which we called as Chanakya Niti, and which is most of the corporate also follow nowadays too. So most of the law was also taken from these nitis or these shastras. Now coming to the moving forward to the Mughal Empire, and there it was called as Fatwa-e-Alamgiri. That was a long code of conduct also, based on mostly on the civic law only. Now when we go beyond after this Mughal Empire, the British rule comes, and there in 1726 there were three major courts called as Madras, Bombay and Kolkata, and only Britishers were allowed to do this practice, not as an Indian. So after that, you might have seen in few of the movies, or if you go to the history, Mahatma Gandhi was try to study law, and he went to London for that. And somewhere in 1846 it was opened for all. It means all Indian can do the practice of law, and the first, if you ask me, the first a government law college was opened in 1855 in India, and that was in Mumbai. And if I ask you one more question, that do you know which is the oldest national law university in the Asia? Yes, it is none other than in the Karnataka itself, and its own are Bangalore. And one last point which I want to discuss is, do you know Indian Constitution, B.R. Ambedkar, Indian Constitution is the lengthiest constitution in the entire world. Yes. So now two of the important points in the law: no man is guilty until it's proven, and no man can be punished twice for the same crime. So this is what I was talking about, the history. So we started from a very far away. Let's talk about Babylon, and we talked about till India, the current. So I hope you liked. Thank you all.